Greetings, everyone. We are back again. I am Aurora. I am the founder of A.U.R.A Hypnosis Healing, Entity Removal, Past Life Regression, as well as Raw Reiki and Quantum Galactic Akashic, founder of these three beautiful modalities, which I teach live on Patreon as well as live online or also in person, the A.U.R.A Hypnosis and the Raw Reiki. Our next online workshop where it teaches you how to remove yourself from the inverted, from the AI, teaches you how to go into the organic, begins June 13. Last day to sign up for that, I believe, is June 7th. So love to see you there. Just sign up now. And the Manchester is pretty much full at this point. There might be a couple spots. Just keep an eye out on our site. And our emails, make sure you subscribe to our emails under our newsletter and all the new updates under my website. It'll pop up for you on my website, risingphoenixaurora.com. All of these modalities, I also offer sessions for them. So you can book those sessions with me. Love to see you there. Otherwise, you can go to aurapractitioners.com where you can find lots of our beautiful practitioners that also offer these as well there. Wonderful. What else? We have... if you want to support these videos and this video and all videos that we do, go to Patreon for $4 a month to support that. And follow us on Rumble and Spotify, as well as YouTube. Make sure you follow us there. Thank you. What an honor it is to be here today. Thank you. Yes. Loving the eyeliner as well today. Powerful. Whew. So this is so beautiful. There's much to share in 1 hour, so we're going to cram it all in. And we have what a amazing topic. I am so excited. I knew I was going to channel this eventually. So this is part of the Mayan Atlantean series, where basically we'll go out with a bang with the Mayans to conclude this series. So we are going to go through this entire series. We're going to go through, which is really exciting. Today we have Lemuria. So we part of Lemuria are King Arthur, Princess Aurora, which you will explain. They will explain all of this there. Merlin, you know, the beautiful, the woman of the lake, and all these beautiful teachings of then. So we will be going through that, part of that, through our Lemurian galactic history. From there, we're going to go from Lemuria, we're going to go to Atlantis. We're trying to do this in one video, but we might have to do two in Lemuria, but we'll flow with it. We should be able to get it done in one. Then there's going to be Atlantis. There's also we're going to go into the Chinese era, the Indian era, and every one of those will be channeled by another different benevolent being. We're also, of course, Sumerian actually first, then Atlantis. There's also, we're going to go into Greeks as well, Greek gods, and allow for them. So until we get to the big finale of the Mayans. So we're really going to flow with this. And then we are going to do our best to have the second video right before, the first video right before, of short topics. And along the way, I will be doing, as you all know, I do sensitive videos that sometimes cannot be here on live. So it's really important, you all, because some of these sensitive videos, I'm trying to stay out of trouble. So go to rumble.com and follow me there, and Spotify, so that you can still know when we have some of these sensitive videos that can't be showed here. Okay. All right. Beautiful. All we have is like 1,000 or more. We want to raise that up. Right now we have 16,000 here. Okay, wonderful. Let's get started. I'm going to go ahead, surrounded by love light as always, and then write your questions here below to Lemuria, and write question right before, and Minnie will keep track of them and ensure that we get them answered. All right, let's go. Veluvia means I love you in Lemurian. I love you all. Veluvia. Here we go. Once more, setting an intention that we don't consent to any trolling, any hatred. We don't consent to you. Don't even bother. It will be yours to transmute as we don't consent. We are infinite love and sovereignty. That we are. Greetings. I am Princess Aurora, also known as Archangel Aurora. In your fairy tales, you also would know me as Princess Aurora, as the Sleeping Beauty. And there's a reason for that, which we're looking forward to explaining that, why you would know me as Sleeping Beauty, as well as there's another name that you would know me as, which we will share that in a minute. It is such an honor to be talking to you today, to be sharing the times and spaces of when the manifestations of our earth came to be into the fifth dimensional crystalline blueprint of the Mu. That then, as you heard through Pangea, moved and shifted through its plasmic plates, its earthly plates, and shifted into their positions of the 12-13 keys that then became the Lemurian, the first lands of what the beginnings of the multitudes of races came to be, joining in one earthly planetary sphere. Ah, what a joy and rejoice it was to reach this level of fifth dimensional, of having such a beautiful success, of having all these beautiful galactic races into these illusional bodies, but yet we're still rooted to their energetic bodies, to have them all interchanging codings and lights with one another. It was glorious time. I am who you would know as in your time and space, as they separated us and they made a malevolent part of us in your folklore of Princess Aurora and Maleficent. We will begin in this story here. Actually, I was Maleficent. I am the same. Though I am not malevolent in nature, that is a name that they inverted. Both Princess Aurora and Maleficent are one and the same. I was a beautiful being that exists within the forests of our earths, specifically in the Lemurian location that you will find, which is located east side, where you still see glimpses of it in parts of the islands on the east side of the oceans, where there is California, the whole crescent part of that side of the states, but then also unified to the other side of the United Kingdom. So when these lands were bigger and grander, you'll go into what happened to these lands along the way. So this is where you find Lemuria in these spaces, and Atlantis will be speaking about Atlanteans. We'll be speaking about how they were found on the west side of the Atlantic Ocean area. Now, if you could envision myself, I looked as close to those Maleficent movies, those movies that you might have seen, but more of a glowing type of light. So all entire earth glowed with shimmers. You could actually see the glitters of the crystals in all the air. Everything breathed out crystals and breathed in crystals, breathed out crystals. Everything on earth, the animals, the plant life, the humans, the elvins, the giants, the dragons, the unicorns, the fairies, the leprechauns, the elvins, the dwarfs, there was many different shapes of us. Some of these little people that you see, they were actually they're representations to how there was giants and small humanoids on Earth. They're the representations to that, as well as why you might see gigantic humans, because they could be descendants and they still carry that in their bloodline. Now, so all this beautiful unity, and we all glowed with this beautiful crystalline, it looks like perhaps fairy dust, light dust that you would see. And the sun was very much part of, as we spoke about, very important part of for us to understand the power of the sun and the moon and stars in this transmission. And these energies glowed, and they kept us vibrating out. We will echo out through the pores of our skin, these particles of crystals, as everything inside of us glowed in the fifth dimension. As we were crystalline, everything was crystalline because it was the organic, original fifth dimensional blueprint. Yes. Water. The animals that you would see would be closest to the Fantastic Beasts, Where to Find Them series, and the Harry Potter series, where these weren't fairy tales, they were real. They were alongside with us, flying in the skies, sleeping in our beds and cuddling with us and guarding us and guiding us. They were all parts of they're familiars. They were familiars to us. Now, I was known as the Princess of the Forest, Princess Aurora, because I was the guardian of the realm of the forest. I am the representation to our universe as well, and the different essences that you have seen sprung out from the Archangel Aurora that we have spoken through times and spaces. Now, this beautiful essences that I was never ending. I lived thousands of years within the Lemurian lands. When it was organic, it was beautiful in nature, as we explained. We were also in connection. We were seraphim, fae. Therefore, we had wings, and I was in my form within the Lemurian lands. I had my 6 wings, as well as other fays, and there was a whole civilization of fays that had wings, and then we were oversee the humans. In the humans were, the majority of them were the younger souls that were evolving. Some of them were also souls that were, say, perhaps misplaced, well, that's actually more in the future. However, yes, there were the young souls. We'll talk about that in a minute. And we were overseeing them and helping them develop. But then there was also, as you know, Atlantis. Atlantis will speak about this, how they were parallel to our time and space, but we were before Atlantis as well. Okay, these lands, the trees were gigantic. They all look like many forms of the tree of life, gigantic trees that feet and feet, oh, they could just, you couldn't see the ends to them. And their trunks were just immense, and the roots, these beauties in Lemuria were gorgeous. Some of these trees that you see, they're new babies. They're babies after the Lemurian sinking and then the Atlantean sinking. Now that you understand the beauties there. Thank you. We will go into the history of what began to occur. See, the Atlantean Wars and this plague, this virus that came in through the Atlantean side, original, say, 0 point to the Archon virus was Atlantis. And as it continued to spread within the islands of Atlantis, it too was felt. We felt it throughout the entire earth. And so did the humans that were developing. They were, see, this wasn't something gradual. It's hard to explain time and space, but it would say it would be something like hundreds to maybe thousands of years of when the plague came in and how it digressed to where it is now, or where it was to when the fall of Atlantis happened. So it was a gradual progression of how this occurred. Okay. So we were the guardians of these beautiful magical creatures that this plague was also plaguing the humankinds. As you saw as well through book 1, also the Elven, the series of the Dark Elven that turned dark, it started also plaguing some of the races within the forests, as well as it began to spread like if you would see a dark rooted virus and it looks like roots, dark roots, and it's spreading. That's what it did. And there was such a strong transition that we had to go through. We really had to go through learning how to shield, how to use our force fields of love light, ensuring non-penetration if we chose to not become part of the inverted as others were. Towards the end of the Lemurian times, there was the Lady of the Lake. I was seen as the Lady of the Lake, as well as I could really just truly walk on water. I was one with all the elements. And remember, we were in the 5th dimension, so we have all our telekinesis, our we could fly, with our wings. And other people, as the Atlanteans, could fly with their Merkabahs. It depended on what type of race you had incarnated to be. Yes, so the children in Lemurian lands and in Atlantis could fly around in their crystal Merkabahs, and it was beautiful to see everyone flying when it was positive and organic magic, and how the children would laugh and giggle in the air and the skies, and the fairies would tickle their noses, and they would ride the dragons, and they would go on adventures with no worry, or parents not having to worry that if they went into the forest something would happen, or if they went into any land something would happen. No, the children were free to explore the beauties of our earth, and that was magical. They could go into caves, and everything was beautiful. Everything was benevolent in nature. There was no negative. Yet the virus was not here yet in Lemurian times. So we got to live many, if you can say, thousands of years with this beautiful reign. The children would just run around and laugh and hug trees and climb trees to the top and fly off them, and they would reach as high as the clouds if they wanted to. It's beautiful. Beautiful. They would visit villages of gnomes. They would help plant seeds. The adults and children would do all this. They were one with the magic. The magic. It was beautiful. We're painting the picture for you. It is magical to look upon and feel. Something to rejoice with him. I could just stay here in this vibration and energy. Veluvia, we knew what love was in the greatest depths. When we were free and we soared through the skies. You ever have dreams where you fly? Remembering the Lemurian times where you flew. Okay. We do have to move forward from this. All right. So there came a time where this plague started to be felt in the humans, and they were more easily being able to be influenced because they weren't as developed as us, these other magical beings that we explain. And with that is that they started to, just like those fairy tales and movies you watch, they started to target, we spoke about this in prior videos, the land of Pangea, and how they started targeting magical creatures. It was horrible, 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 because magical creatures, they weren't consisted quite like say the humans. They were consisted with magic inside of them, true magic, the unicorns and the horns, the magic inside there, the dust. There was beautiful animal companions that they all had different abilities, and they started using dark sorcery because the archons started plaguing their minds with the AI program, and then they started using magical creatures to do their dark sorcery to create and manifest. They became so distorted and separated from the sun and the moon and the elements, the seven goddesses and the seven elements that we've spoken about, these infinity of elements, goddess and gods energies. And then they also forgot that they were the gods and goddesses, and as they became more and more farther and farther from this, they became to do the most horrible things, that not only to one another, but then also to the beautiful magical creatures. And farther and farther away, they went into the forest and deeper. And at that point, we, Fae, became the guardians of the forest. Thousands of years of this, which is how you know me of as Princess Aurora, one and the same with Maleficent and my staff and my wings and my dragon form, as I was a dragon as well. Remember, we could transform into different, this physical vessels were an illusion. We knew that then, so we can transform in the fifth dimension. So we could transform into a dragon, into these different essences if you were that attuned with your abilities. Okay. Fast forward, there came a time where we knew that we had to go farther deep into the forest and protecting the magical creatures as we were their guardians, protecting them. Then also we were guardians to the humans, but they weren't listening to us. They were, as well as because of the once more the Atlantean plague that was spreading, and it was trying to spread to the Lemurian people as well, and it did take hold of some of the Lemurians that turned dark, as we spoke prior. Okay, now, so that's who we were. We flew. Then they also started targeting us and trying to trap us, and some of those tales that you see, trying to cut off our wings and all these horrible things. Same thing like the magical creatures. And the most powerful force that you see is actually the green and the purple Aurora Borealis. This is a representation to Mother Gaia and her aura. This is why these were the main colors that I would use as Maleficent, Princess Aurora. The green, the healing, the purple, protection, and how I would shield our space. They would find ways sometimes to penetrate through the technologies of the archons in times, spaces. Okay. This is where King Arthur comes forth. There was a beautiful angel that was to be incarnated, that as an oracle, as a seer, knew that was to come in a time and space, that he would guide the people of the lands of the unions where we sat, of the Lemurian lands, in between of the UK and the States, and these lands, yes, also maybe perhaps parts of Asia, but yes, these lands in between. Okay. But also keep in mind that some of the lands shifted when the fall happens. We'll try to go into that. Now, okay. Going through, making sure we did not miss anything in the order that you could understand it. Okay, so therefore, we created, the Fae together, we created a sword, a mighty sword that you would know as Excalibur. And within the forging of a sacred stone, we forged alchemically this sword into the stone. And we knew that only one archangel could hold this mighty sword, and how he would help the people of its time, of his time, to evolve. It was part of the seeds that are left behind for us to remember. Big part of that. So the time came that his birthing came, and we watched over him. We knew when he was going to be born. We watched over him like guardian angels, keeping him invisible to those who might want to know where he is, or who he was, especially as a child. And as he grew and his ages grew, when he came to the age of 17, and there was the tale of the in-between, for the sacred stone was in the in-between of both the forbidden forest for the humans who were scared of it, and the civilization of the humans, which again, we were starting to see that plague already of the ego, lust, envy, and all of that. He would bring balance. Many would come from far and wide to pull that Excalibur from its stone, but none were worthy. None were pure in heart. None were unplagued by the virus. None, all had a type of distortion of some kind. A timeline that if they were to pull the Excalibur, would they truly use it in a benevolence? And that's what the stone, the sacred stone, would do. It was a seer of a kind of timelines, and it would read whoever's hands would touch upon the sword. It would read its purity, the soul, and the potential timelines that they would potentially grow into. And if they have the power of this Excalibur sword, and when the sacred stone would read through the holding of the grabbing of the stone to try to remove it from the stone, it would read the possible inverted timelines that this being could possibly manifest into. For perhaps there could be even just a minuscule dot of distortion within them. Therefore, they would not be able to pull it. They would need to be pure in heart, golden heart, pure. Beautiful. His coming of age 17 was very important, as the number 17 is for this beautiful being, as it turns into the infinity symbol, which represents all that he is. He came strong and muscular to the stone, while all others watched, and they were jealous, envious of why they couldn't pull that stone, and what is wrong with that stone. Curse words at it. Of course it wasn't going to let you pull Excalibur, the mighty Excalibur, out. And this young man comes from the village in preparation, puts his hands one day on his 17th birthday, and he pulls Excalibur out from the stone, where this vast light shines out from it, that is connected to the inner earth, the heart of Mother Earth, and shoots out into the universe. He holds it in his palm. With that, he received his final integration, coming from human born to angelic form. His wings sprung out from within him. His 2 seraphim wings, his set of 6 wings, sprung out from him. And he is known as Archangel 4. And from there was nothing that can penetrate him. Nothing could penetrate him, where he had come into at the fullest Archangel form, which is Archangel Michael, Archangel Heliel, Lucifer, in one embodiment, this form that he is, this beauty. And as he held Excalibur within him, his auric field spun out like spheres of light, circles of light coming out from his heart, rippling out. He held the mighty sword in his hand. And that is the beginning of his kingdom, and how he began to bridge this beautiful kingdom, grow it and expand it and protect it, build these castles and walls, and led the people of this civilization of Lemurian. Because when his ripple of vibration activated on Earth and he came into his archangel form, so too did it ripple out. And this is why you know Excalibur as being, say, Archangel Michael's sword, Divine Father's sword. Because it is that. It is his mighty sword that protects all of creation. It was the embodiment that was gifted to him from the heavens of Divine Mother to him in the now. For this princess, Aurora and Maleficent, was the embodiment of this beauty to him, and it is who gifted this sword to him and helped it make and alchemize, coming into his full form, all parts and beauties. And then he had knights at the round table, and he also began to understand the forest wasn't the forbidden forest. There wasn't anything negative within it. He began to teach the people of Lemuria before the fall, teaching them to actually honor, love, and respect the life forms. Though there was still some, of course, that did not listen, that would hide within dark sorcery, that had become infested by the Archon virus. And his round tables, knights would shield and protect. And they were parts of the legions of love, of light, of the Legion of Light, the Legion of Love, Light. And those angels, as he incarnated here, he would activate the divine masculines that were meant to be activated to stand by his side. Of course, there was females as well. We're speaking of his perspective in this moment in time. King Arthur, as you would know him, or more like King Four, Archangel Four, Divine Father. And his golden heart was felt through all of Lemuria, and it was a big part of keeping Lemuria balanced long enough for that the crystalline formations that were meant to be incarnated, coded into Earth, so that when the fall happened, it was part of that, ensuring that the fruition of your organic timeline now to be all these pieces of these benevolent beings that play these roles are part of that. They're all pieces of the puzzle that get us here in this moment, important moment, time and space. So in those times and spaces he was in union. He actually came into requested for the audience of this beautiful Princess Aurora, Maleficent, to come and to meet with him. And in that moment in time, he fell in love with her and realized the beauty that she was and the beauties of these forests and these magical beings that had tucked away another activation and soul remembrance for him. And together they were one, like the moon and the sun and the earth and infinity symbol, and they kept balance together where the magic was beginning to merge back to the humans. Merge. Along the way, as this beautiful sacred union came to be, there were also the dark sorcerers that were part of Lemuria, specifically Merlin. There's a reason why they make Merlin look as he is benevolent in nature. He actually is malevolent in nature. He was part of the plague of assisting in spreading the Archon virus within the Lemurian times. And two, though, in an organic form, it was coming to an ending. So this Merlin entity was, you can say, an embodiment. It had become an embodiment of the Archon Father. Therefore, it was great within the magic, but it had incarnated into a vessel. And then it was a way of bridging in from the Archon universe into this vessel it was pure dark sorcery and was trying to ensure that its inverted plan continued where Lemuria and Atlantis would fall, so that all these life forms can then densify into the third dimension. And there was a grand battle that occurred between this Merlin Archon Father that went through between the union of the Princess of the Forest and King Arthur, and how initially there is a lot to share here in between that battle. We're trying to see how much time we've been speaking already. And if we need to make this into a part 2, can you share with us how much time we've been speaking?
It's been about 30 minutes.
Okay.
So we have about 20-25 minutes more. Thank you.
Thank you. We are slowing time down. We have lost track of time. Very good. Now, okay. there was a grand battle between these forces of the inverted darkness, inverted, not organic darkness, inverted artificial intelligence, and so too as this Archon virus plagued the Atlantis where it began, it also wanted to plague the Lemurian lands. You have seen some of this explained through the aura regression, aura hypnosis, Lemuria versus Atlantis. You can watch that more to understand this as well, even more, many versions. And dark sorcery initially, because the collective chose the dark sorcery and the inverted, initially did end up, say, triumphing. But there was plans, divine plans to all forms, especially from the magical creatures of the forest and all these beautiful fays and beings, where they would ensure that it was protected. Lemuria would be protected. The original, right, or original blueprint would be protected. So together, they began the first splitting, the third world split, where the earth was one with the dark sorcery of this Archon Father and the plague that was spreading. It needed to separate from itself because we were not going to lose. So together, all the Lemurian beings who were in highest consciousness, and some as well as these archangels that had incarnated as these knights, and they were in they had developed their abilities. Also keep in mind that we lived hundreds of years then, humans as well. They're not, only say 70, whatever ages you're living now, 100. So there was time to develop. So there's a lot that goes into the developing of this Lemurian civilization and the great beautiful reign of King Arthur and the knights, and the reign and the beauties of the forest and how they became one. So the earth was together, then the virus continued to spread from Atlantis to Lemuria, spreading like those dark roots. And when it came and it started unbalancing earth, unbalancing the organic darkness, plaguing it with the artificial, the unity consciousness of all benevolent beings that were in a highest consciousness of heart and love, they together were part of separating this. So at the time of the sinkings of Lemuria, what happened is that it sunk and needed to sink, and it was a collective of source and benevolent beings that assisted in shaking, earthquaking, shaking the earth in those parts, sacred lands of Lemuria, bringing them down. Because what happened is that as they went and sunk into the water, energetically, what happened to them actually is the Lemurian organic blueprint saved itself, and it bifurcated, it separated itself, going up, keeping itself. And that's when all the magical creatures went with this planetary sphere organic blueprint, Lemurian 5-dimensional blueprint. It went with them, all the magical creatures. So all that basically were a matching vibration to the 5th dimension went, the Elvins and so on went. And some of them also went inside the inner earth, where you have heard Adama, the Garthian, speak of this, and they became a portal. This portal, they are the portal. So into the 5th dimensional earth, you go down, and we've talked about this plenty of times, through the heart of Mother Gaia, and we transfer out into the 5th dimension. So that is when the split happened. The 3D decided to stay in the 3D. The 5D needed to separate because we couldn't allow for it to be plagued. We needed the original blueprint to save itself. So therefore, the magical creatures, dragons and so on, went with it, and they became the guardians. Until this day, they hold that organic blueprint for us there, because they did not allow a plaguing of themselves. Now, some of them, as we told in the beginnings, some of them they took them and they put dark black magic on them. all of that kind of stuff. But the ones that remained were able to go collectively into this earth, and they hold it now there. Then, as you know, in the 12/21, 2020, 10 years, 10 years ago, think about that, 10 years ago from what's to come, 12, 21, 22, 10 years ago, on 12/21, 2012, there's something really important there. It started coming back, and then it crystallized in 12/21, 2020, it began to anchor in, and then it fully crystallized in on 12/21/21. So that came back, the promised land came back, its blueprint. Now they're living, like we have showed you, two worlds together, unified in the two third world split playlist. They're there, living there together, bridging in the organic so that those who were stuck in inverted because it couldn't be the right density, as we talked about the events in the ascension, all about the event and ascension video, definitely want to watch that, because as they're in inverted now, they can start bridging into the fifth dimension, which will turn out to be the sixth dimension. Because why? Because we've already done the fifth dimension. Why would we repeat again the fifth dimension? That makes no sense. We've already done it. In Atlantis and Lemuria, we're in the fifth dimension. Why are we going to do it again? No, when the universe ascends, so will we ascend out. There will be no more 5D anymore. It will be gone, and actually we'll go sixth dimension and higher. One of the reasons why they plague the number 6 is it's the devil. Oh no, they know that eventually when ascension happens collectively, we will shift out. We've already done that. We already experimented the fifth dimension enough. We are done with that experiment. Lest we will transition into the sixth dimensional earth, which will become, life in itself will be completely most beautiful, grand, and beautiful, different after ascension comes forth. Divine. Okay, the new earth, all of that. Whew. Okay. Yes. So if there's anything else that we want to share about Lemuria before we open up for questions. We did beautiful. That we did. So all these fairy tales are real. What? So, and then some of the inverted started lurking in the darkness as well, like vampiric entities, demonic things after the fall, after Lemurian sunk down. Started seeing some of these distortions where they took magical creatures and they did when they could, and then they distorted them into these things. Werewolves, those were actually real. Some of these things still exist down in caves to this day. They have dark portals that they could pull you in. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Beautiful. You may open them up for questions. We are ready.
Thank you. What a beautiful channeling. And thank you for sharing the true story of Princess Aurora and King Arthur and Lemuria. So we do have a lot of questions, and I'll get going with them. The first one is...
Yes, we forgot one thing.
Yes, sure.
The reason why I'm called Sleeping Beauty in your fairy tales is because that is what happened to Gaia and I. When the fall of Lemuria and Atlantis came, we fell asleep. The world fell asleep when the bifurcation happened, separated. That is why I am known as Sleeping Beauty, because the inversion made us fall asleep into the third dimension. Up until now, think about how long it's been, thousands and thousands of years. And here we are finally, after this whole entire galactic history that you've gone through of Earth. Earth history, the Sumerians, the Egyptians, the after Atlanteans, all of these different time eras. We're finally here. Oh, it brings tears to my eyes. We've awakened. That's what it represents. 12/21, 2012 beginning. We've awakened. We are awake. No more sleeping that we need to be in. You may continue.
Thank you. That really hit home. Oh, brought so many tears. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. The first question is about arcane. Which archangel would Princess Aurora, Maleficent, and Lady of the Lake be a fractal of, if that can be shared? Thank you.
So we explained at the beginning what Princess Aurora.
I'm sorry, your voice is cracking.
We explained at the beginning that Princess Aurora, or a saint being, Archangel Aurora incarnated as a princess, Princess Aurora, Maleficent of the forest. Did you hear that?
Yes, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for that. All right. Can you hear me well?
What's the other question? Yes, I can hear you.
Mm-hmm. The same thing about Maleficent and Lady of the Lake. You had already clarified that Maleficent is the same as Princess Aurora, correct?
And the Lady of the Lake, yes, all one being.
Beautiful. We have this beautiful question from our Patreon this morning. It is believed by some Princess Aurora is Gaia, Mother Earth, as well as Princess Aurora is Archangel Michael's twin flame. And certain starseeds are code carriers of Archangel Michael and Princess Aurora, masculine and feminine union. They are the carriers of this blueprint. Can you explain this, please?
Yes, this is accurate. Exactly what you explained. You explained that. They are the divine feminine. Princess Aurora is the divine feminine of our universe, which is our universe itself. And then we have the masculine Archangel Michael. Yes, they are twin flames.
Beautiful. Thank you. And one of the biggest revelations that also came through this beautiful channeling is about Merlin. And so did Merlin ever positive polarize from that role that, he got himself into?
No. No. Some of the most powerful dark sorcerers on Earth are actually fractals of Merlin. And they're compromised by the Archon Father. They're like an embodiment of the Archon Father. Still compromised.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Now, this is from a viewer who
wants to add.
Sorry, go ahead.
That even though we fell asleep, that we still continued in the forest. We continued to the forest, actually, and part of the reasons why there was even the witch trials and all of that, because they were trying to find us. They called us witches. They were trying to find us still in the forest. We still remain invisible and cloaked to them. And some of our children were part of the people that they were killing. They were just light workers. We still stayed guarded, even though, say, the earth fell asleep. We became still the guardians of all. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Now, trying to understand if Lemurians are a race, or, in the beginning of the story, you shared about how different galactic races and star seeds came together in one place and they formed Lemuria and they brought in their star codes from there. Now, one of the viewers has asked, in her aura session, she was told that her galactic soul family is Lemurian, and her twin flame was told that he is Syrian in an Akashic reading. So can you share how that would be? Can you share a little bit more about this?
So she's Lemurian and he's Syrian?
Syrian, mm-hmm.
Well, those are just incarnations. We've explained about this before through many videos. The light language explains it, how they're just incarnations. So your higher self wouldn't be an incarnation. Your higher self is the one that is beyond and in all dimensions, the oversoul and the higher self, which tend to be oversouls are angelic in form. So there's a confusion in this. These would be more of incarnations of who you are, who you incarnated into races, galactic races. So there were many beings, as we said, in Lemuria. There's not just one race. There were blue beings, there were red beings, there were all colors, gold beings, skin tone, because we would illuminate different colors, right? Because we would glow the skin, therefore, and like I said, all sizes. So we've talked about this in Pangea, Lemuria, that specific one where we had watched that video to understand this matrix. We're trying to stick with what we have not talked about. So consciousness come in to the pods right now because that's what it is, a simulation. We talked about all this. We talked about the organic crystalline there and what it turned into. Watch that video.
Yes, that's
This is a
explanation.
series, so you want to watch them in order to understand the series. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I agree. Thank you for sharing that. That makes sense. Now, in all the beautiful, they call fairy tales. I guess they call them for a reason, the phrase. And very often when we dream, or growing up as children, we would dream of certain things. We were always told this only happens in fairy tales. Happy endings are only for fairy tales, especially to do with the divine masculine, where girls would wait for their man or their prince charming to come on a horse, and they would say that only exists in fairy tales. Men are not like that. Real men don't exist. So is that an inversion that was created on the divine masculine?
Absolutely. That's how they play the dark sorcery. It's so simple. It's so simple to them. It's just words, and these words hold dark spells, and it's programmed. Once they program, they're just dark spells and curses. That's what you can say, that the fall of Atlantis and Lemuria was. There was a dark curse that we all fell asleep into.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. The next question is about crystals. Now, very often, we are on a search for Lemurian quartz and Lemurian crystals, and they're being sold in, stores as well. Is there a way that, I know we do need to follow our heart frequency and see how it feels, but is there a way we can feel into the energy of Lemuria and really know if those crystals are from there? Thank you.
Well, you would have to bifurcate. You can, because you can do that with your imagination. The majority of you all have had a Lemurian life because it began from there. Unless you completely were new to Earth, then you came outside from Earth as a starseed, just volunteering, right? So if you haven't had a life before on Earth and weren't here from the beginning of Lemuria, then what you would want to do is you would want to call forth on these embodiments of Lemuria. You can call on the land when it was organic of Lemuria. You can call some of these benevolent beings that you know of that were existing during Lemuria. Maybe just a collective of benevolent beings, of energies of Lemuria. You can call on a unicorn. You can call actually on any magical creature you connect to, and they will help you bifurcate. So you will feel yourself in that time standing in Lemuria with everything like we explained how it looked, crystallized, and your feet are grounded to it. And you will have yourself, so you energetically within a timeline, you will be in a bubble of Lemuria, and you will listen to the crystals, and they will tell you if they are just simple, are you Lemurian or are you not? And they will say yes or no, and that is it. But again, you don't believe in yourself too much, so sometimes you doubt yourself so much that you forget that you can do these things so easily with just a thought form and imagination away. So that is a way you would tap into the lands then. So whether you were part from then or you regardless, you're here. The blueprint is here on Earth. It's coded within all the pyramids that Yeshua talked about, and he explained how everything's sacred symbols in our most recent video. The name of it, what was it? So Yeshua knew it all, something like that. All the coding's there. Yes, continue.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. That actually also did tie into the next question someone had about how to connect with the dragons in Lemuria land. Thank you. Now, someone wants to know, how was the weather in Lemuria? Did it have all seasons like summer or winter?
The 4 seasons are really important. Therefore, yes, they have always been here. In the different parts of the world where you do see the 4 seasons. There's a significance to that. It's the cycle of human life and life all on Earth, right? So you have the spring, rebirth, the summer, the heat. Perhaps it could be, there's much to this: transmutation, fire, warmth, rejoicing in the warmth. And there's the fall where the leaves drop the seeds. And you're coming to a renewal, the winter where you hibernate like a bird, like a bear. There's a significance to the 4 seasons and how it's grouped by the 4 times in the 4 sacred directions. And the number 4 represents angels. Yeah.
Beautiful. Continue. Thank you. Do you think you can take one more question?
Yes.
Wonderful. Where does the Holy Grail energy come into Lemuria and Avalon's story? What are we allowed to know in this time and space, please? Thank you.
The Holy Grail was starting to begin to create inside the inner earth, because some of what, like A.U.R.A spoke of, some of us, some lands sunk to protect the sacred teachings and the sacred energies. But again, remember, they merged, they sunk into bifurcate, separate. And then some of the Lemurian people the Elvins and the Lemurian people went down into Earth through some of these locations that you would know as Manchester and other parts of locations spread out through all Earth. And then, so that is the representation of that is the Holy Grail, how they kept the organic bifurcation inside of Earth from inside of Earth, and they are the portal. So the Holy Grail is a representation to the portal of ascension, all that exists within the portal of ascension, and all sacred knowledge within it. We can take 2 more questions.
Beautiful. One of the questions is about horses. Are all the horses here now basically unicorns, but in 3D world now with no horns?
Absolutely, yes. But there isn't just unicorns that ran with 4 legs. There were all types of beings in 4 legs that would run, that had shapes of horses. Some of them, they were so beautiful, they glowed. Their skin glowed. Some of them had 6 legs, and some of them, it's just like versatile. Yes, it's not just unicorns, but many other beings that are horse-like, unicorn-like, Pegasus. Yes, continue.
Beautiful. The final question for today is about children. As we heard such a beautiful description of how free children were in the times then, playing in the forest, can we possibly shine the light on the child trafficking using crystals and also Dead Sea Scrolls to assist in saving and helping our children? As well as if you can share maybe an update that can be shared now on how we're doing with the children. Thank you.
Yes. The amounts that we have strided in year of 2020, 2021, now going into 2022 are vast energetically. So what you don't know is that you are a strong protector of this child or human trafficking. So when you're sleeping or when you're consciously days off for a moment, space, you turn into the higher self version of you and you astral travel out of the body, and maybe you might assist a ring coming to light, you might come in to assist a child. It is vast. Much has happened in the underground that we don't know about, though there is a bit of it's a little it's fast, but then also a little bit slow, just because we know who's in presidency right now and we know what they represent. So that is slow, but not because the people of our planet have become grander in awareness over it. So they outwin that false control. We thank you. We thank you. Many of you are doing profound work in ways that are hard to explain in this time and space to you. Just know that they are being assisted and saved by benevolent, positive beings of our universe. It's happening. Understand though that some of these children, though, some of them are just souls that are agreed, that just came in, like they're like an orb of light that just came in really quick to be that and to transmute it, and out they go back to source. Come in, out they go back to source. So yes, continue to have awareness, talk, not okay. So what we started seeing was in Lemurian times, specifically with the Merlin incarnation, Archon Father, was that they started beginning to do that pedophilic sexual trauma onto children then. And it began through these different dark sorceries then. That's when it began. So this is a beautiful time and space that you can go to, because it began there in Atlantis and it continued to spread since then, until you are now in strong awareness. And at this point, the vastness of light on Earth is just invincible, unstoppable, because the trifurcation has happened. Thank you. It has been such a most glorious honor to be here with you. We feel complete for this video. We look forward to seeing you in our next channeling, where we will explain more of our Earth's history. We love you, honor you, and respect you. Veluvia Mutal Emute and raw. Thank you. The visuals to that channeling was magical, especially when we were on the positive side of Lemuria, and I could just sense and see all the children everywhere. Oh, I hope that we explained it all as best as possible, because there was so much going on. It's similar like when you have a passive regression or a regression. There's so much being explained and you're trying to speak it in words. I think we did a really good job explaining that. Thank you all very infinitely. I will see you in our next Friday. Thank you for being here. Share this video far and wide. I love you, honor you, and respect you. Thank you for being you.